She pulled the trigger before she knew his name. The man who had just saved her life fell into the dust, and every outlaw in the valley turned their guns toward her. Now the stranger she wounded was the only man who could keep her alive. But when the truth about who he really was came out, she would have to choose between running forever, or standing beside the man she nearly killed. Stay until the end, because the woman who fired that bullet would become the reason an entire town found courage again. The desert wind blew hard across Red Hollow, carrying sand through the empty streets and rattling every loose board in town. It was the kind of place where people kept their eyes low and their doors locked before sunset. Fear lived there like a second sheriff. Clara Bennett had learned that fear years ago. She lived alone on the edge of town in a weathered cabin with peeling paint and a roof that groaned every time the wind rose. Her father had died in the mines, her mother from fever, and the man she once planned to marry had vanished after promising he'd come back with money. Men always left. Trouble always stayed. So Clara trusted no one. Every morning she worked harder than most men in town. She chopped wood, hauled water, repaired fences, and sold bread she baked herself. The townsfolk respected her from a distance, but no one got close. Clara had built walls higher than stone. Then one afternoon, trouble rode in. 5 men on horseback entered Red Hollow wearing black dusters and carrying rifles across their saddles. Their leader was Wade Cutter, a cruel outlaw with silver teeth and dead eyes. He had taken over nearby towns, forcing shopkeepers to pay for protection. Those who refused often disappeared. The townspeople scattered indoors when they saw him. Clara stood frozen beside the water trough. Wade smiled at her. "Well now, seems Red Hollow's got something worth staying for." He dismounted and stepped toward her. Clara backed away, hand trembling near the small pistol hidden beneath her shawl. Before Wade could grab her, a gunshot cracked through town. Everyone turned. A lone rider had appeared at the far end of the street. Tall, broad-shouldered, coat faded from travel, hat low over his eyes. Smoke curled from the revolver in his hand. Wade's horse screamed and collapsed, hit in the leg. The stranger rode forward slowly. "You touched the lady," he said calmly. "You lose more than a horse." The street went silent. Wade narrowed his eyes. "You got nerve, mister." "Just bad patience." Clara's heart pounded. She had seen enough men pretending to be heroes. Usually they were thieves in cleaner coats. Wade's men spread out, rifles lifting. The stranger slid from his horse, never taking his eyes off them. "Run," he said quietly to Clara. But Clara saw another man moving behind the stranger, hidden near the saloon porch with a shotgun. Without thinking, fear took control. She drew her pistol and fired. The stranger jerked as the bullet struck his shoulder. He fell to one knee. At that exact second, the hidden outlaw fired too, but the blast went wild because the stranger had dropped. Chaos exploded. Gunfire thundered across the street. Windows shattered. Horses screamed. Clara stood stunned, realizing what she had done. The man who came to save her was bleeding because of her. Yet even wounded, he rose again. With one hand pressed to his shoulder, he fired twice, dropping the man on the porch and another near the stable. Then he grabbed Clara by the arm and dragged her behind the trough as bullets tore through the wood. "You always shoot your help," he growled. She could barely speak. I thought. Think later." He pushed a rifle into her hands. "I don't know how. You'll learn fast." For the next minute, Clara fired wildly while the stranger moved like a storm beside her. Calm. Sharp. Deadly. Wade Cutter finally whistled retreat, and his remaining men galloped out of town swearing revenge. Silence returned with drifting smoke. Then the stranger collapsed face first into the dirt. Clara rushed to him. The town doctor removed the bullet that night in Clara's cabin because it was the nearest safe place. The wound was deep but not fatal. As the stranger drifted awake near midnight, Clara sat beside the bed, shame burning inside her. "You should have left me there," she whispered. He looked at her with tired gray eyes. "Couldn't. You'd probably shoot the next fool who tried helping." Despite herself, Clara almost smiled. "What's your name?" she asked. "Elias Reed." The name hit the room like thunder. Everyone in the West knew it. Elias Reed, the former lawman who once cleaned out gangs across 3 territories before vanishing after his wife and son were murdered in revenge. Clara stared at him. "You're supposed to be dead." "Been told that before." Outside, torches moved through town. Wade Cutter had returned with twice as many men. And Red Hollow, trapped in fear for years, was about to face war. The people of Red Hollow gathered in Clara's cabin, frightened and whispering. Some wanted to flee through the canyon before dawn. Others wanted to hand Elias over to Cutter and beg mercy. Clara listened in disgust. "You've begged long enough," she said. The room fell quiet. No one had ever heard her raise her voice. "They take your money, your cattle, your pride, and now you'd hand over a wounded man who defended you?" Old Mr. Harper lowered his head. "They'll kill us," someone muttered. "No," Clara said firmly. "They'll keep killing us until someone stands." She looked at Elias. He was pale, weak, but awake. "Can you fight?" He smirked. "Can you aim better this time?" By sunrise, Red Hollow changed. Men who once had loaded rifles. Women melted lead for bullets. Teen boys carried water and built barricades. Clara moved through town like fire, ordering defenses, binding wounds, handing out courage. For the first time, people followed her. Elias watched with quiet respect. "You were never meant for hiding," he told her. "I was meant for surviving." "Same thing," he said. "Until the day it isn't." Wade Cutter rode in at noon with 15 men. He laughed when he saw barricades. This town found a backbone. Then Clara stepped into the street beside Elias. "No," she said loudly. "We found each other." The battle began. Shots cracked from rooftops. Horses reared. Smoke rolled through town. Elias fought through pain, protecting gaps in the line. Clara stood beside him, steady now, firing with cold purpose. When Wade charged straight for Elias, Clara intercepted him. Their guns fired at once. Clara's hat flew off. Wade spun from the saddle and crashed dead into the dirt. The remaining outlaws broke and ran. Red Hollow erupted in cheers. People hugged in the streets. Some cried openly. Years of fear had ended in one afternoon of courage. As sunset painted the town gold, Clara found Elias packing his saddlebag. "You're leaving," she said softly. "That's what men like me do." She looked down. "Men like you save strangers, even when they shoot you." He smiled. "And women like you become stronger than the whole town expected." She stepped closer. "I stayed because I owed you. And now? Now I stay because I choose to." Elias looked around at the laughing townsfolk, the repaired street, the hope rising where fear once stood. Then he set the saddlebag down. Months later, Red Hollow had a new schoolhouse, fresh paint on every building, and laughter in the streets after dark. Some said Elias Reed saved the town. But the people who knew the truth would say something different. A frightened woman once fired a bullet from fear, then spent the rest of her life teaching others how to stand brave. And beside her stood the man she nearly killed. Sometimes fear makes us wound the very people sent to help us. But courage begins the moment we admit our mistake, rise again, and choose to fight for something better. If today's story touched your heart, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And remember, even a small act of kindness can change someone's entire life. Red Heart.